Thank you very much. Now we move on to U.S. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham has criticized America's Gulf partners, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, for refusing to take part in the U.S. and Israel's war against Iran. Graham has noted that the UAE has officially stated that it will not allow its territory to be used for attacks against Iran. He has described this as deeply disappointing. Moreover, Graham has warned that the U.S. needs partners who are willing to step forward in a fight it cannot afford to lose, and called on Saudi Arabia and other friendly nations to take ownership. Graham has also turned his criticism towards Europe, pointing out Spain's refusal to allow joint U.S. military bases to be used in operations against Iran. Now we welcome retired Colonel Sanjay Sirohi. He's international relations and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Colonel Sirohi, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, can you tell us why are these countries, reluctant to join or give such support, and how dangerous is it to even host U.S. bases in your country? As I also want to point out that one of the countries who have never allowed such is India. Why so?
Good morning, Asuma. Thank you very much for having me on your news channel and discussing something very, very important and interesting. Now, look, the Republicans know that in the coming elections, they are going to have very tough time during the midterm election. That's why Republican lawmaker Senator Lindsey Graham has said that the Gulf countries should take more active part, and he showed his frustration and disappointment with the Gulf countries that they are not doing what they should have done because the Americans think that they are fighting this war because of the Gulf country. So this is the disappointment from the American side. But as far as the Gulf countries are concerned, they have 2 points which why they are not engaging with Iran is firstly, they were not given enough warning by the Americans that they are going to strike so fast and so early because the talks were going on, and the third round of talk has already been concluded, and they were waiting for the fourth round to take place. And in spite of that, the Israelis, they attacked without even informing the Gulf countries. That is the one point they have about that. And secondly, they have realized that by having military bases, they have got involved into the war which they don't want to get involved. Because the Iranians are now targeting the military assets of Americans in these Gulf countries. As a result of that, they are having a lot of destruction taking place, especially in Saudi Arabia and UAE. So I think, and the question which you have asked me, that why India, because India knows that if you have military bases, then those military bases will be used by that host country, that country, and that is going to create problem for the other. That's why the Indians, they are not siding with any alignment, with any military alignment. We have our own independent views. I think it is working in the right direction. Asuma.
Yes, and thank you for answering that. And Colonel, how do you think that U.S. Will be pressuring these countries, including countries in Europe, moving forward to join this war? Although, don't you think that if they were highly capable to fight on their own, like they always, or it shows in their dialogues and it reflects in their attitude, then why would they try to drive in other countries to begin with?
Yeah, Asuma, let us go back in the history and see that Americans, wherever they have fought, it has fought not alone. It was always complemented by the NATO countries, including New Zealand and Australia, whether it was Afghanistan or whether it was Iraq or whether it was the Gulf War when Iraq invaded Kuwait. So I think this is the first time that the Americans are fighting alone with Israelis on their side. So initially, the European countries were reluctant to join in this battle. And that is why they never supported this battle, because they knew that this battle is going to create more problems for the Gulf, not only for Gulf countries, for the complete international problems will come up, because now we have seen how the prices of oil have gone up, and because of the scarcity of gas and other petroleum products. So I think the Europeans were aware of this problem, and after Mr. Donald Trump has become the president of America, there has always been rift between the European countries and the Americans. That is number one. Initially, even UK had denied the use of their air bases for the Americans' forces. But later on, Ukraine agreed to that, UK agreed to that, but they said it would be used only for defensive purposes. Even France has moved their aircraft carrier, but that is only for their own defensive purposes in their military base in Cyprus. So I think the Americans, now they have realized, Americans, as the war is progressing, and the war is not coming to an end from any side, especially from the Iran, in spite of putting pressure by the Americans on the Iranians are not ready to negotiate. They are not interested in ceasefire. So now the pressure is building up in America in domestic public. That's why Republicans are not worried that all the other Gulf countries where the fighting is going, the other Gulf countries should also take part in that, because the expenditure, if you see, Suma, the expenditure which is going on is enormous. $891 million are spent every day. In the first week itself, $6 billion have been spent. So now the American worry is that from where all that money is going to come. So they were banking on the Gulf countries, but the Gulf countries are not prepared to take active role. So that is the big problem, Asuma.
Thank you very much, Colonel Sirohi, for sharing that deep insight with us. Please do stay with us as we come back to you for our next news.